there, Anicap Sensei here. This is an anime about a lonely boy found an angel on his balcony, and he start meeting more cute mythical girls. And the anime begins with an angel told to learn more about humans. Once she arrives on Earth, she's amazed by its beauty. Then, we meet Shintaro, a high school student who's just finished a long day of work. On his way home, a kitten comes up to him for some pets. This reminds him of a kitten he found when he was a kid, which a neighbor eventually adopted. Living alone now in high school, Shintaro often feels lonely. Exhausted, he falls onto his bed and quickly falls asleep. During the night, a white feather drifts into his apartment. The next morning, Shintaro's alarm wakes him up. He grabs some milk, but notices his window is wide open. Walking over, he finds a girl lying on the floor. Startled, he spills his milk on her. Quickly, he helps her up and gives her a towel and lends her his shirt. The girl introduces herself as Toa and they start talking. He thinks she's polite and pretty. When Shintaro asks why she was on his balcony, Toa just says she wants to thank him. She offers to do anything for him in return, but Shintaro is too shy to ask for anything. Toa seems sad about his refusal, but decides to clean his messy apartment since she can't cook without ingredients, and Shintaro stops her from finding out his ecchi manga. Shintaro, thinking Toa might have run away from home, asks her where she's from. She oddly answers, heaven. He thinks she might be crazy or in trouble. Despite his doubts, Toa asks to stay with him for a while. Suddenly, Shintaro's alarm goes off, reminding him he has work in 30 minutes. He rushes off, telling Toa to go home and not be a runaway, not believing Toa is an angel. At work, Shintaro feels sick and has to leave early. While walking home, Shintaro spots Toa talking to a man who wants to take her to a hotel. Concerned for her safety, he quickly grabs her hand and they leave together. As they walk, Shintaro suddenly passes out. When Shintaro wakes up, he finds himself at home with Toa by his side. She has taken care of him while he was unconscious and even made him some porridge using leftover bread and milk. Toa feeds Shintaro, and it's been a long time since someone has taken care of him like this. Feeling better after eating, Shintaro advises Toa not to follow strangers, expressing his concern for her safety. Realizing that Toa has nowhere to go, Shintaro offers her a place to stay in his apartment, which makes her very happy. Shintaro is curious about how Toa managed to carry him home, considering he must be heavy. Toa casually mentions that she flew there, showing him her wings, confirming that she is indeed an angel. The next morning, Shintaro wakes up thinking everything that happened must have been a dream, but he's shocked to find Toa sleeping next to him. When Shintaro asks why she's in his bed, she innocently points out that there's only one bed. They then go shopping for breakfast together. Toa gets excited about a promotion. Her wings accidentally pop out, causing Shintaro to quickly tell her to hide them. Back at home, Toa apologizes, explaining that her wings appear when she's excited. Curious, Shintaro asks Toa about the duties of an angel. Toa explains that angels ensure souls find their way between heaven and earth and bring happiness to humans. However, Toa admits she's not sure what exactly constitutes human happiness, revealing that this is part of why she was sent to Earth. Shintaro starts to worry about the cost, as his allowance from his parents isn't enough to cover meals for both of them every day. He suggests they should start shopping for food ingredients and other daily necessities, since Toa didn't bring anything with her from heaven. Shintaro took Toa to a shopping mall. She found a mug with a cat on it, reminding her of the two cats fighting on Shintaro's balcony. She liked the mug, but decided not to buy it because she didn't want to spend Shintaro's money. While they were shopping, other people started staring at Toa because her dress made her look like a princess. Feeling a bit overwhelmed, Shintaro quickly went to find her some regular clothes. Toa asked Shintaro if she was making him spend too much money. He smiled and said it was okay, and encouraged her to pick some casual clothes and pajamas. A store attendant noticed them and helped Toa found some beautiful outfits. The attendant even mistook Toa for Shintaro's girlfriend. Inside the changing room, Toa thought about how kind Shintaro had been to her and wondered how she could repay his kindness. She decided to promise publicly to bring happiness into his life, making it sound like a proposal. Back at their apartment, while Toa was putting away groceries, she found that Shintaro had bought her the cat mug she had admired earlier. She was touched and very happy to receive it. That night, they ended up sharing the same bed again. Shintaro shouts that he should buy another bed first. When Toa comes to Earth, she sees a train moving really fast. She flies close and is amazed by the speed, realizing how incredible Earth is. Sitting on a building, Toa starts thinking about how she will meet humans. She remembers a book called Good Kid's Guide to Life on Earth, which explains 2 ways to meet humans. First, she needs to be higher than them, shine brightly, and introduce herself impressively while showing off her wings. Second, she has to hide her wings and blend in. Deciding which way to choose is hard because everyone on the street looks busy. Toa is tired and flies away to find a quiet place to rest. She sees a condo with an open window and thinks it's unused, so she decides to stay there for the night. Back in the present, Toa explains to Shintaro that this is how she ended up sleeping on his balcony. Shintaro is relieved because he was worried something bad might have happened to her. Toa makes dinner for Shintaro and he feels spoiled eating such good home-cooked meals. Toa even offers to feed him, but Shintaro embarrassingly refuses. They start eating, and Shintaro loves the food, especially the potato dish. Shintaro wonders if it's really okay for him to have such a good life and asks how he can do anything for her. Toa appreciates his kindness and tells him he's already done a lot by letting her stay. After dinner, Shintaro shows Toa how to use the bath. She thanks him for explaining, then starts taking a bath. Shintaro, outside, feels uncomfortable knowing a girl is bathing in his home. He tries watching TV to distract himself but can't stop thinking about Toa bathing. He turns off the TV and decides to focus on studying for an English quiz. While studying, Shintaro suddenly needs to use the bathroom. He forgets Toa is inside and walks in on her. They both scream in surprise. Later, Shintaro is taking his bath when Toa comes in with a towel, asking if she should wash his back. Embarrassed, Shintaro says he doesn't need that. At night, Shintaro and Toa are sleeping on the same bed again. Shintaro lies awake embarrassed, planning to get an extra bed immediately. The next morning, Shintaro wakes up feeling very tired. He decides to use the bathroom quickly and then go back to sleep. But when he opens the bathroom door, he finds Toa inside, and they both scream in surprise. After the mix-up, Shintaro starts thinking about making some rules to prevent awkward situations. Suddenly, Toa comes in while Shintaro is still using the toilet, and they both scream again. Sitting at the food table, Shintaro reflects on how it's already the third day of living with an angel. After finishing his meal, he thanks Toa and realizes he needs to go to school, and Toa offers to leave with him. However, Shintaro tells her she doesn't need to come to school with him because it might surprise people. Toa insists that she can't bring him happiness if she isn't with him. She suggests he could skip school for the day, but Shintaro says he'd love to stay but has to study as it's his duty. Toa understands and agrees not to interfere. Shintaro leaves some money for Toa in case she needs anything and heads to school. While walking to school, Shintaro feels very sleepy and sick because he overate. Suddenly, his friend Shuichi greets him excitedly by slapping him on the back, which makes Shintaro feel more nauseated. Then, Satsumi comes over and asks Shuichi what he's doing. Shuichi explains it's his way of saying good morning. Satsumi notices that Shintaro looks unwell and asks if he's alright. Shintaro explains he's tired because he hasn't slept well. Satsumi suggests Shintaro should skip school for the day. Shuichi then asks Satsumi why she's being so nice, to which she blushingly says that's what friends do. Shuichi suggests Satsumi should be nicer to him too. Shintaro jokes that it's like they're a funny married couple, but Satsumi doesn't like the comment and tells Shintaro not to say it again. Back in the apartment, Toa was busy cleaning and doing laundry. Sitting on her bed, she starts thinking about Shintaro and realizes it's lunchtime. She wonders if he might be hungry and unhappy at school. At school, Satsumi asks Shintaro if he ever cooks for himself, worrying about his diet. Satsumi tells him she's been thinking about making lunch for him, just as a friend. Shuichi, hearing this, asks Satsumi to make lunch for him too, but she refuses, saying it would be too much work. Suddenly, Shintaro notices Toa outside the school window. He panics and secretly tells Toa to go to the roof and rushes off, saying he has some work to do. Shuichi jokes that Shintaro might have plans to meet with girls, which makes Satsumi angry. Meanwhile, some students who saw Toa flying thought it was just stress making them see things. Shintaro confronts Toa, worries about what would happen if people found out angels exist. Toa apologizes. She explains she was worried he might be hungry and brought him lunch. Toa says she should leave, but Shintaro stops her and apologizes for shouting. He suggests they eat together. As they start eating, Shintaro recognizes the potato dish from last night. Toa mentions she remembered it because she wants to learn more about what he likes. Shintaro feels really lucky to have Toa by his side. Meanwhile, Satsumi is helping carry things at school and thinking about where Shintaro might be. She remembers when she was a kid and got lost. Shintaro helped her find her way home. That was when he became her first crush, but she hasn't seen him in 9 years. On result day, as students check where their classes are, Shuichi excitedly says he got accepted and asks another person next to him become friends. When the boy's name card falls, Satsumi finds Shintaro's name on it, feeling like fate has brought them back together. Back in the present, Satsumi is surprised to see Shintaro with Toa and is shocked. Shintaro tells Toa to go straight home and not talk to any strangers. Toa asks him to come home soon. Satsumi realizes Shintaro was really meeting up with a girl and is completely shocked when Toa takes out her wings and flies away. Shintaro returns home from school and is welcomed by Toa. He is surprised to see that she has already done the laundry. Toa explains she learned how to use the washing machine from the book she brought to Earth. Shintaro is amazed the book covers laundry too. Then, he is shocked to discover that Toa has washed his underwear. Although he is thankful, he feels awkward, especially when he sees that Toa has sewn a cute bear onto his underwear, where there was a hole. Toa asks if he likes the bear, but Shintaro suggests that he will handle his underwear from now on. He decides to wash his underwear himself every day. Meanwhile, Tsutsumi is in the bath and starts thinking about the girl she saw with Shintaro, who seemed to be flying. She wants to ask Shintaro about her, but feels hesitant. Tsutsumi wonders if she might be imagining things because people can't really fly. She decides she will ask Shintaro if she can make lunch for him again tomorrow. The next day, as Shintaro is leaving for school, Toa offers him the lunch she made. He hesitates, worried about explaining it at school. Seeing Toa look sad, he quickly agrees to take it. Toa asks him to come home soon for dinner, but Shintaro apologizes, explaining he has work and won't be back until after 9 p.m. At school, Shuichi invites Shintaro to have lunch together. When Shuichi and Tsutsumi see that Shintaro already has a lunchbox, they are surprised. Shintaro lies, saying he helped an old lady on the street and she rewarded him with the lunchbox. When he opens it, he finds a heart-shaped omelet and quickly eats it so Tsutsumi and Shuichi won't notice it. Tsutsumi suspects a girl made it for him since she knows his mom is out of town. While walking to work, Shintaro worries about what excuse he'll use for the lunchbox tomorrow. He realizes that his main problem is not wanting anyone to find out that he lives with a girl. Suddenly, a fortune teller approaches him. She tells him he's surrounded by girl trouble and offers to sell him charms for 30,000 yen to fix it. Shintaro thinks it's a scam and runs away. At work, his boss is glad to see him looking better and tells him that a new girl who started working 2 weeks ago will be on his shift. His boss reminds Shintaro to be nice to her. When Shintaro opens the changing room door, he accidentally walks in on the girl changing. She gets mad and slaps him. Afterward, she gives Shintaro a cold cloth for his face, which he apologizes for what happened. She introduces herself as Noelle and asks Shintaro to forget the incident. Later, their boss lets them go home early and mentions new trial desserts in the break room fridge. Noelle offers to leave if Shintaro doesn't want to eat with her, but he insists. When they notice the cherry dessert, the room suddenly gets very cold. Noelle starts shivering, and when Shintaro tries to help, she tells him not to touch her, and reveals she's a Yuki-onna, a snow spirit. Outside, customers ask to turn up the temperature. Shintaro, knowing angels are real, believes in snow spirits too. He notices that Noelle's panic makes the snowstorm stronger and suggests they leave the cafe before she's discovered. They laugh together after realizing Noelle accidentally took the dessert with her. Meanwhile, at home, Toa is playing video games. She looks at the clock and worries because Shintaro said he'd be back by 9 p.m., but he's late. Elsewhere, Tsutsumi is trying to study, but keeps thinking about Shintaro. She decides to take a break and heads to the convenience store. Meanwhile, Shintaro is surprised to learn that Noelle go to the same school. Noelle asks if he really believes her story about being a snow spirit, and Shintaro says he does because she said so. He admits in his thoughts that having already seen angels, he thought there might be devils too, but a snow spirit was unexpected. Noelle explains that her family has a long history of Yuki-onna, mythical snow women, and she's unsure if it's genetic. She says that her mother and grandmother were also Yuki-onna, who create snowstorms when they feel strong emotions like anger, sadness, or embarrassment. Noelle struggles to control her emotions, unlike her family members, and this often results in unintended blizzards, pushing people away and making it hard for her to make friends. Despite this, she decided to change and started working as a waitress to improve her interaction with people. But it got complicated when Shintaro saw her changing. Shintaro comforts her, acknowledging her efforts and the courage it takes to change. He tells her she is doing well, especially in how she smiles at customers, and says she is not a lost cause. It's the first time Noelle has talked to someone outside her family about being a Yuki-onna, and she is grateful for his comforting words. Noelle then asks if they can be friends as she has never really had any friends before. Shintaro agrees, making her very happy. Noelle asks if Yuki-onna would melt and disappear if others saw them, to which she smiles and assures him she won't. Suddenly, they see a white feather and notice Toa flying above. Toa is happy to have found Shintaro. But at that moment, Tsutsumi arrives and is shocked to see Toa flying. Shintaro is reflecting on his life at that moment. In the chaos, all the girls are trying to figure out what's going on. Shintaro is overwhelmed by everyone speaking at once and turns to Tsutsumi, asking why she's here. Tsutsumi, in her sweat clothes, wishes she hadn't run into her crush dressed like this. Shintaro suggests they all pretend this never happened and go home, but that's clearly not an option now. Noelle is fascinated by the sight of a real angel, stunned by how adorable Toa is. Gathering her courage, Toa admits she's an angel who came to Earth to learn about humans. Noelle's excitement grows even more. Sitting down with everyone, Shintaro explains the whole situation and why he hid Toa. Tsutsumi promises to keep the secret, convinced no one would believe her anyway. She asks Toa why she chose Shintaro, and Toa explains it was random, just needing a place to sleep. Hearing this, Tsutsumi feels a mix of jealousy and admiration for Shintaro's kindness. recalling the bento lie and realizing it was actually Towa's cooking. Satsumi then recognizes Noel from school, known as the Ice Queen for her coldness towards people. Pressured, Noel nearly loses her cool, which could trigger a blizzard, but Shintaro quickly explains that they just work together. This calms things slightly, and Noel insists Shintaro use her first name, which makes Satsumi feel left out. As things settle, Noel suddenly confesses she's a Yuki Onna, stunning everyone. She demonstrates her powers, causing a light snowfall, and the wind accidentally lifts her skirt, which embarrasses her further when Shintaro tries to warn her. Regaining her composure, Noel says she was inspired by Towa's honesty to reveal her true nature. Satsumi, not wanting to be left out, shares an embarrassing childhood secret about wetting the bed until 5th grade. Grateful for making new friends, Towa thanks everyone. Satsumi formally introduces herself to Towa, and Noel asks Towa if she can adjust the size of her wings. Everything went better than Shintaro expected. When he got home, he was super tired. Towa decided to make him something to eat. She talked about how great Satsumi and Noel were and asked if Shintaro was mad that she reveals her angel identity. Shintaro said he wasn't mad, just worried. He told her to be careful and not do something like that again. That night, Shintaro had a scary dream. He dreamed that government's agents came to his apartment and took Towa, Noel, and even a kappa no one knew about. He tried to save them but couldn't. When he woke up, Towa was there looking worried about him. The next day at school, Shintaro was super tired with big dark circles under his eyes. Satsumi came up to him, looking even more tired. She was trying to act normal, but she really hadn't slept well. She is okay about the angel and Yuki Onna, but the idea of Shintaro living with a girl was too much for her. She asked Shintaro if he was dating Towa or Noel. He said they just met, and inside her mind, Satsumi was celebrating. While they talked, Shuichi came over and asked who Towa was. Satsumi quickly said she was a distant relative of Shintaro who made his lunch every day. Shuichi thought Shintaro was really lucky. Shintaro thanks Satsumi, feeling good having someone to share a secret with, and Satsumi was happy to share a secret with Shintaro too. Later, Shintaro was enjoying a peaceful moment when he saw two guys bothering Noel, asking her to go to karaoke. She ignored them, but lit up when she saw Shintaro. She told him she wanted to hang out with him after school, go eat, and do fun stuff together. Shintaro remembered they had to work, so Noel decides to hang out during their day off instead. She was really excited about it. As the afternoon went on, Towa got curious about where Shintaro worked. She saw a kitten on the balcony, and wondered if the cat knew where Shintaro worked. At the restaurant Shintaro was working when Noel came up to him warmly. The boss called Shintaro over and asked if he and Noel were dating because she told him that she wanted to work the same shifts as him. Shintaro got nervous and said they were just friends. A coworker is surprised he managed to befriend Noel, mentioning that Noel was usually cold to others. Then, a customer rang a bell needing service. When Shintaro went to the table, he was shocked to find Towa and Satsumi waiting there. Towa explained that a kitten had shown her the way to the restaurant, but it disappeared along the way. Luckily, Satsumi was passing by and guided her the rest of the way. Satsumi acted like she just stumbled upon the restaurant, but she actually had been looking for Shintaro's workplace. Shintaro took their drink orders and went to help another customer, while Satsumi was thrilled to see him in his work uniform. Meanwhile, an elderly lady needed help. But before Towa could assist, Satsumi reminded her that helping customers wasn't her job. At the same time, Satsumi noticed Noel and figured that she and Shintaro wouldn't interact much during work. However, Noel quickly rushed to tell Shintaro that the angel was here. The boss then pulled Noel aside to commend her for her energy, but asked her to keep it professional at work. After talking to the boss, Noel told Shintaro she couldn't be friends with him at work anymore because she struggled with maintaining professional boundaries. With tears in her eyes, Noel runs away, telling Shintaro to never speak to her again. Shintaro was shocked by her extreme reaction. At their table, Towa was enjoying a melon soda and checked out the menu. She was intrigued by a cheeseburger but decided against ordering it since she had already prepared dinner. Hearing this, Satsumi thought to herself how Towa, being both beautiful and a good cook, might steal Shintaro away. Meanwhile, Towa asked why Shintaro was working since he was still a student. Satsumi explained that many students work part-time to supplement the allowance they get from their parents. Suddenly, Satsumi needed to use the restroom, leaving Towa alone. Seizing the moment, Towa started helping other customers until Shintaro quickly pulled her aside. He explained that he was paid by the hour, and her helping wouldn't get him home any sooner. Towa then asked if Shintaro was working because she lived with him, but he reassured her that he had been working long before she came along, and that he wanted the work experience before graduating. Towa felt bad for not contributing, but Shintaro assured her that she was a huge help at home, which made his life much better. Happy to hear this, Towa promised to have dinner ready for him when he got home. Unbeknownst to them, the boss was overhearing their conversation and thought Shintaro was involved in a love triangle. Just then, Noelle approached the boss, asking to change her shifts to not see Shintaro at work, showing her intense side once again. Shintaro has noticed some big changes since Toa started living with him. One change is how they now use a rice cooker for meals, instead of buying ready-made rice from the convenience store. But Toa leaves the rice cooker in front of the TV. She says it's because the kitchen counters are too crowded and all the outlets are taken. Shintaro thinks this makes sense, so he leaves it there. He's curious about how angels make food in heaven. Toa tells him there are trees that grow lunchboxes shaped like hearts, full of warm rice, instead of regular fruits like apples or oranges. Shintaro finds this fascinating, and when he goes to get another bowl of rice, he agrees that keeping the rice cooker by the TV is a good idea. Meanwhile, Satsumi is trying to understand all the unusual things happening around her, especially since Shintaro asked her advice about getting a smart card for Toa. This would help Toa take public transport instead of flying with her wings. Satsumi knows Shintaro is quite independent. When his parents moved abroad, he chose to stay in Japan alone, in an apartment owned by his aunt. He even took a course and got a job to support himself. Satsumi is thankful to Shintaro's aunt because if it wasn't for her, she wouldn't have met Shintaro. But now, living with an angel and working with a snow woman is too much for her to handle. She likes Toa and Noelle, but feels uncomfortable when Shintaro talks about other girls. She regrets not making the first move, like offering to make Shintaro's lunch, or telling him how she feels. Now she feels too ordinary, as she's neither an angel nor a demon. So she asks her mom if they might be descendants of yokai, hoping to find something special about herself. Satsumi's little brother comes downstairs feeling hungry, but their mom tells him to take a bath instead of snacking before bedtime. Satsumi's mom remembers she won a 2,000 yen voucher for a donut shop. The voucher expires tomorrow, so she suggests Satsumi go with her friends soon. Imagining a chance to eat donuts alone with Shintaro, Satsumi excitedly thanks her mom. The next day, Satsumi tries to ask Shintaro to go for donuts with her, but keeps getting too nervous to speak clearly. The day almost ends without her asking him, until her friend Shuichi sees the donut coupon. He grabs it and asks Shintaro to join them, but then another student reminds him he has to wash the balls for their club. So Shuichi asks Shintaro to think of him while eating donuts, leaving just Satsumi and Shintaro to go together. Satsumi hides her excitement and agrees to go with just Shintaro, feeling grateful to Shuichi for the first time. After school, Shintaro asks to stop at the library before the donut shop. He wants to research angels and yokai, curious if demons and kappas also exist. Satsumi worries he might be trying to gather a group of mythical beings, but she also finds his nerdy curiosity endearing. Shintaro thanks Satsumi for helping him with research and calls her ballsy for how open she was in the park, revealing secrets to make Toa and Noelle comfortable. This embarrasses Satsumi, who wishes everyone could forget that moment. As they read, Shintaro falls asleep at the table, looking very cute to Satsumi. She quietly confesses her love for him while he sleeps. An hour later, it starts raining heavily, threatening their donut plans. But Satsumi doesn't want to miss this chance and dashes through the rain to the donut shop. Shintaro, surprised by her determination just for donuts, follows her into the rain. In the middle of rushing to the donut shop, a little boy trips and falls, breaking his umbrella. Satsumi quickly helps him up and kindly offers her own umbrella to the boy. With only one umbrella left, she asks Shintaro if she can share his, hoping they can continue together despite the rain. Shintaro smiles and agrees, making Satsumi very happy as they head to the donut shop for their long-awaited date. The next day, Shintaro realizes he and Noelle both don't have work today. They had planned to walk home together, but Shintaro worries he might not have enough topics to talk about. However, Noelle energetically brings up one subject after another, keeping the conversation lively. She even asks when they will buy a joint diary, a concept Shintaro explains doesn't really exist outside of elementary school, making Noelle laugh at his straightforwardness. Continuing their walk, Noelle wonders if eating snacks on the way home from school is something people actually do. Shintaro confirms it, so she excitedly buys an ice pop to share with him. Noelle, being a Yuki Onna, struggles with the cold treat, causing both to burst into laughter over her reaction. Noelle shares that she was so excited about their first day walking home together that she couldn't sleep. She compares this to another sleepless night she had after telling Shintaro her secret about being a Yuki Onna, a moment that made her feel vulnerable but also brought them closer. At the end of their walk, they part ways with Noelle playfully insisting that next time, Shintaro will buy the ice pops. Back at home, she keeps the top of the ice pop stick they shared as a souvenir, looking forward to their next walk home together. Now back home, Shintaro is surprised when he sees Toa and a little girl with wings wrapped in towels in his home. The little girl slaps Shintaro thinking he is a perv, and she claims that she will take Toa back to heaven now. That morning, Toa was folding freshly washed clothes when a loud noise came from the balcony. There, she found Shu, another angel like herself, who had crash-landed into Shintaro's apartment. Toa offered to bathe Shu since she was dirty from the fall. Later, when Shintaro arrived, Toa explained everything and asked Shu to introduce herself. The little angel did so grumpily and then told Toa to return to heaven with her. Toa quickly calmed Shu by giving her some milk, which she loved. After 2 sips, Shu glared at Shintaro, who was amazed by the existence of tiny angels. Toa asked Shu why she was on Earth. Shu shouted that God allowed her descent because Toa had been silent for too long and she was worried. Toa explained she was studying human behavior and that a week away wasn't long. But Shu was upset Toa was staying in a dump with a human man, calling them perverted animals. Toa tried to calm her by explaining that Shintaro was kind and invited Shu to eat, hoping it was just hunger causing her bad mood. However, Shu freaked out more upon learning Toa cooked and washed clothes for Shintaro. Shu wants to send Shintaro to meet his maker at that moment. Toa offered her more milk, which she drank reluctantly before pulling Toa outside. Toa said Shintaro told her it was dangerous to leave the house. Shu questioned how Toa would learn about humans if she never left the apartment. Shu believed Toa was trapped and didn't know what she was doing, insisting she should return to heaven. Toa defended Shintaro, saying he was genuinely good and kind, and she believed that wholeheartedly. Shu argued it was naive to believe that in just 1 week, but Toa reminded her that Shintaro had shown care and kindness from the start, which calmed her fears about being on Earth, which made her feel she needed to repay this kindness and bring the same happiness to him. That's why she decided to stay with Shintaro. Meanwhile, Shintaro felt he would never get used to a girl saying such things about him. Shu, frustrated that nothing worked, ran out of the apartment, calling her friend Baka for wanting to stay there. Shintaro and Toa set out to find Shu. Shintaro thought angels preferred high places, which Toa confirmed, so they headed to the rooftop garden. Along the way, Toa apologized for Shu's harsh words, but Shintaro understood she said them because she cared about Toa. Soon, they reached the rooftop and found Shu sitting in the garden. Toa apologized for being self-centered and assured Shu she only came to Earth to study human behavior. She replied that Toa had done nothing wrong, and Toa offered her a hug to stop her from crying. Shintaro watched the wholesome moment, finding Shu's childlike behavior cute. While hugging, Shu's necklace started beeping, warning that it would send her back home in a minute. She took this last chance to ask if Toa really wasn't going back with her. Toa stood firm, which Shu promises to always pray for her friend's well-being. Shu acknowledged that Shintaro might not be so bad, trusting Toa's judgment, but warned him that if he ever harmed Toa, he would face her wrath. With a proof of white smoke, Shu was sent back to heaven. Toa took the opportunity to explore the rooftop garden, as she had never been there before. At the same time, Shintaro admitted that Shu's words made sense, and things needed to change if Toa wanted to learn more about humans. He suggested they go for a walk together every day after dinner. Blushing, Toa accepted the invitation, reinforcing her kind image of Shintaro. As promised, they walked around the city every evening. Shintaro taught her about traffic lights and the importance of looking both ways before crossing the street. When they returned home, Toa noticed that Shintaro always announced his arrival, even when no one else was home. He explained it was a force of habit, and Toa welcomed him warmly, making Shintaro feel a sense of cuteness in the air. They then watched TV together, and Shintaro reflected on how Toa could now go out alone. The next step would be to teach her to take the bus and train. However, imagining Toa getting lost or pursued by strange people terrified him, so he decided she wasn't ready for public transportation yet. Meanwhile, on TV, a show features fruit sandwiches. Toa can't believe such beautiful food exists. Shintaro remembers a shop nearby that sell it and invites her to try one. Toa excitedly accepts, which made Shintaro forgets about what he was worrying just now. On their way to the sweet shop, Shintaro gives Toa a train ticket for the station's turnstile, which made Toa recall seeing a train the day she arrived on Earth. Startled when the ticket is sucked into the machine, Shintaro explains it will come out on the other side. When they reach their destination, she hilariously thinks the ticket should come out again for her to take home. Hooked by the lively city, Toa runs ahead, earning a small scolding from Shintaro. She comes back and takes his hand, making him blush. At the sweet shop, Toa is glowing with excitement when she orders the foods. Shintaro is happy to see Toa eat with such satisfaction and glad that he brings her along. Their tour continues until they reach a beautiful park. Toa sees a swan boat and thinks it's a real swan. Shintaro invites Toa to ride it with him, and she excitedly accepts with a cute expression that melts Shintaro's heart. Soon, they are pedaling together. When Shintaro lets Toa pedal, he gets flustered because her skirt lifts when when pedaling. Toa gets excited and accelerates the swan, flying across the lake. Meanwhile, an elderly couple finds it cute, calling them lovebirds. Embarrassed, Shintaro takes control of the pedals to get away, while Toa asks what lovebirds are. As they leave the swan, Toa sees a dango shop and pulls Shintaro towards it. He lets go of her hand on impulse and explains that holding hands is something only couples do, making Toa blush. At that moment, an irritated woman on her phone knocks Toa to the ground. She understands the woman is in a hurry, but Shintaro apologizes, feeling guilty for humans being selfish. Toa teaches him that caring for others is easier when we care for ourselves. Shintaro feels happy to have met Toa, but cuts the mood by inviting her to eat the dango she wanted. They walk to the shop together, but without holding hands. After a whole day out, Toa thanks Shintaro for the day and the delicious fruit sandwich. Thinking about dinner, Shintaro suggests grabbing some takeout from the convenience store. When they reach home, Toa mentions she'll quickly prepare some hot tea. As she reaches the apartment door, they see a sad-looking girl sitting there. Shintaro goes to check on her, and the girl stands up and hugs him tightly. Shintaro realizes it's Mari, his aunt, who rents the apartment to him. Inside, Mari devours the takeout as if she hasn't eaten in weeks. She apologizes for not visiting earlier, explaining she's been busy. Mari starts choking, and Toa gives her something to drink. Toa then asks who Mari is, and Shintaro explains she's his aunt and a manga artist. Suddenly, Mari screams, making Shintaro think she's drunk. She explains she's just really tired, having not slept in 3 days. Toa asks what a manga artist is, so Shintaro shows her a manga as an example. Mari complains that the manga isn't her work, and Shintaro admits he doesn't have any of her manga. Mari laments that her nephew should be the first in line to buy them, but he can't concentrate on reading knowing it was made by his aunt. Mari melodramatically tells Shintaro to forget she exists, but he can't, considering she just ate their dinner. Mari begs for forgiveness, claiming sleepless nights have affected her reasoning. She had been waiting for Shintaro for hours and couldn't call because she left her phone at home to avoid being tracked by her editor. Mari then offers them a cake she brought, revealing it's her birthday. No one wished her a happy birthday all day, not even her editor, so she decided to buy her own cake and share it with Shintaro. Mari then cries and calling her editor a baka. Shortly after, Shintaro lights a candle for his aunt and sings happy birthday, but Mari can't stop crying. She explains her emotions are on edge after finishing a job. Toa hands her a cloth to wipe her tears, and Mari finally asks who the girl in the room is, and Shintaro thinks about how to explain Toa's presence, let alone that she's an angel. Toa takes the initiative and introduces herself. Shintaro, afraid Toa will say she lives here, interrupts her. Mari gives a mischievous laugh and asks if Toa is his girlfriend. Shintaro says she's a classmate and they're having a meeting for the school festival committee. Mari points out that festivals start in the fall, making Shintaro flustered with his excuses. Mari asks Toa if Shintaro is popular at school, wanting to know if her nephew is a playboy. Shintaro says he isn't, so Mari complains to Toa that her nephew is being mean, reminding him she changed his diapers when he was little. And Toa is enchanted, imagining baby Shintaro. Mari then gives Shintaro a serious look and asks why Toa calls him Master. Shintaro explains it's just a nickname and everyone at school calls him that as a joke. Finally, everyone shares the cake and the mood is cheerful. Toa says she'll make some tea, and Mari praises her for being thoughtful. Mari then asks if Toa is an angel, saying it would be nice to have someone like that in the family. Shintaro nearly explodes hearing this. Mari goes to the bathroom and notices 2 toothbrushes. Shintaro quickly says he likes to divide them between his front and back teeth. Mari then realizes her nephew invited a girl into the apartment, and she starts panicking. She exits, shouting for Shintaro not to get involved with drugs or bad behavior. After tea, Mari offers to take Toa back home since it's late. Shintaro, unable to think of an excuse, agrees. On the way, Shintaro suggests Toa separate and fly back home without being seen. Saying goodnight, Toa runs off. Mari runs after her, telling Toa that Shintaro might be shy but is kind and wants her to stay his friend. Back at the apartment, Toa watches Shintaro and Mari talk. Shintaro asks his aunt to eat and leave, but she says she's staying the night. She can't go back to work because her editor didn't wish her a happy birthday. She shouts that Kita, which is her editor, is an idiot, reminding Shintaro that Kita is the editor who made his favorite anime and manga. Mari is startled by Shintaro's fanboy reaction and becomes sad, saying nobody knows her despite her hard work. Shintaro tries to cheer her up, saying she's famous since her manga was adapted into an anime, but Mari is convinced she's a burden to her boss. Mari throws a tantrum like a child and refuses to leave, ordering Shintaro to get a blanket for her. Toa signals that it's okay, she can stay on the balcony, which Shintaro can't let her do that. Suddenly, the doorbell rings, and Mari shouts for Shintaro not to open the door. He opens it anyway, and a red eyes monster walks in, looking for the piece of trash. Mari panics as her boss, Kita, enters. Shintaro is surprised that Kita is a woman. When Kita asks who the boy is, Mari jokes that Shintaro is her son, but she quickly shuts her down, saying she is his aunt. Embarrassed, Kita apologizes, saying she wouldn't have locked Mari out if she'd known Mari had to take care of her nephew. Shintaro brushes it off, saying he prefers when his aunt doesn't visit, which hurts Mari's feelings. Kita then walks over to Mary, who is panicking and promises to work hard to make up for today. But Kita surprises everyone by wishing Mari a happy birthday and claims that she brought a cake for her. She explains she went to Mari's house, found it empty, and panicked. Mari swoons in gratitude, and Kita tells her to come back to eat the cake together. After saying goodbye, Shintaro tells Kita he looks forward to her next work. She replies that she'll ask for his opinion next time they meet. Mari jokes she doesn't have time for that, and Kita says she would if Mari didn't miss deadlines. After they leave, Shintaro takes a deep breath while Toa comes in from the balcony, happy to see his family for the first time and finding his awkwardness cute. Another day, Shintaro is walking home from work when a girl bumps into him from behind. He notices her beauty and red eyes. Two guys run towards her and she says she's being chased and asks for help. Shintaro grabs her and runs, but turns out the two guys are just trying to return the book she dropped. After shaking off the duo, the girl sniffs Shintaro, saying his scent is delicious. Shintaro thinks it's because he smells like food after work. Noticing her leg is bandaged, he asks if she's okay, but she awkwardly says it's just a costume. He asks who the guys chasing her were, and she starts yapping that they're descendants of Helsing, here to kill vampires. Shintaro is surprised, thinking he'd meet a kappa or demon before a vampire. The girl reveals she's Alishka, and is indeed a vampire. Shintaro is stunned to meet a vampire after encountering so many mythical beings. Suddenly, the girl's colored lens falls out, revealing her real eye color. She hilariously tries to justify that running dried out her eye. She removes her eye patch to show her other red eye, claiming it's proof of her bloodlust and that she's a vampire. But then her other lens falls out, and she grumbles about how expensive they are. Shintaro realizes he's been tricked and that he's met another crazy person. Still, he can't leave her alone, so he asks if he can accompany her home or to the police station. She suggests a nearby safe place. Soon, they arrive at a maid cafe where Lilishka works. She wants to repay Shintaro for his help and asks him to wait inside while she changes. Shintaro, feeling awkward and unsure if high school students can enter a maid cafe, leaves in a hurry, saying goodbye. At home, Shintaro tells Toa about the girl who pretends to be a vampire and says she have a protagonist syndrome. He says goodnight and they both go to sleep. Suddenly, someone appears on his balcony. Shintaro wakes up to find Lilishka licking his neck, preparing to bite. He screams and turns on the light. Toa wakes up and sees a girl in a vampire outfit. Shintaro quickly explains it's the girl from earlier. He asks Lilishka how she got there. She explains she tracked his scent because she's never been so attracted to someone's smell before, and she cuts a hole through the balcony window to get in. Shintaro tells her to leave, but she insists on getting one last lick or sniff of his neck. Shintaro is shocked at how crazy and creepy she is, but also wonders how she climbed onto the balcony. Meanwhile, Toa is excited to see a vampire for the first time. Shintaro insists Lilishka is just pretending, but then she flaps her bat wings, proving she's actually a vampire. Faced with the evidence, Shintaro believes her but wants to know why she was wearing contact lenses. She explains she's a Japanese vampire, but wanted to be a European vampire. She strikes a JoJo pose and declares she's Lilishka, which Shintaro and Toa introduce themselves and respond. After everyone is introduced, Shintaro tries to push Lilishka out again, but she asks to nibble on his neck before leaving. Shintaro is baffled and asks if she bit him while he slept. She replies that she only licked his neck because she doesn't do things without permission. She adds that as a last-generation vampire, she doesn't need blood to survive and can drink any red liquid, like grape juice. So, Shintaro searches for grape juice in the fridge, but Lilishka can't hold back and jumps on him, trying to nibble his neck. In the end, she decides to stay the night, insisting on just putting the tip of her teeth on his neck. Toa cries in fear, thinking Lilishka will eat Shintaro. The next day, Shintaro wakes up and notices Lilishka is gone. Toa remembers that bad things happen to vampires in sunlight. Shintaro worries Lilishka has turned to ashes, and Toa panics, saying she won't vacuum just to be sure. At school, Shintaro remembers the maid cafe where Lilishka works and plans to check if she's okay. Suddenly, Tsutsumi comments that Shintaro doesn't look well. He explains he didn't sleep well. She thinks it's the stress of final exams next week, shocking Shintaro because he forgot about the exams due to all the craziness. At lunchtime, Shintaro goes to the cafeteria, and Shuichi asks him to get a pudding for him. Shintaro gets his food but decides to eat at a nearby bench since he's starving. While enjoying his rice ball, he feels a lick on his cheek. Shintaro is shocked to find it's Lilishka. He complains that she isn't allowed at school, but Lilishka reveals she also studies there in class 2. Lilishka explains she followed his scent to find him. Shintaro wonders if she's a vampire or a dog but is relieved she didn't turn to ashes. Lilishka says she doesn't like the sun but won't turn to ashes because of it, which is why she wears a hoodie. Shintaro invites her to sit in the shade, and Lilishka is happy he finally believes her. Lilishka explains she left last night without notice because he and Toa were sleeping and she needed to go home and change into her uniform before school. She says she'd like to come back to Shintaro's house tonight, but he makes it clear he doesn't want that to happen again. Suddenly, Shintaro remembers he promised to take the pudding to Shuichi. He quickly says goodbye to Lilishka and rushes to the classroom. Shuichi feels blessed to get the pudding and thanks Shintaro. Shintaro asks Satsumi if she knows a girl named Lilishka from class 2, with blue hair and a hoodie with rabbit ears. Satsumi has no clue, but another classmate says she's actually called Kagami and introduced herself as a vampire, which everyone thought was funny and cute. Meanwhile, Lilishka is eavesdropping outside the door and seems hurt when Shintaro turns his face to avoid eye contact. After school, Satsumi offers to let Shintaro copy her notes for the exam. Shintaro is excited and agrees to go to the library with her. Satsumi is proud of herself for asking Shintaro out without fumbling her words. But her plan is interrupted when a bat flies through the window and asks Shintaro to follow him urgently. Shintaro says goodbye to Satsumi and runs after the bat. Noel sees him passing by and gets curious. Shintaro eventually reaches the door of the Occult Research Club. Lilishka bursts out and says she's been waiting for him. Inside, Lilishka strikes a JoJo pose again and orders Shintaro to become her servant now. Shintaro simply says nope, and Lilishka asks why not. She argues he will have the privilege of having a super cute bat as his superior and an invitation to her birthday next month. Shintaro, shocked, asks why she suddenly wants him to be her servant. Lilishka confesses she was hurt when he said she couldn't come to his house. She feels like Shintaro is avoiding her and wants to avoid people knowing they know each other. Crying, she says she felt an unforgettable scent for the first time in her life and thought it was destiny for them to meet. She wants to become his master, so he has no choice. Lilishka loses her temper and advances to sniff Shintaro, but Noel and Satsumi fall into the room, revealing they were eavesdropping. They are horrified to see a flying vampire. Neither Noel knew vampires existed, nor did Lilishka know snow women were real. In a corner, Satsumi feels the competition for Shintaro's attention has increased with another mythical being in the mix. Lilishka apologizes for causing trouble by following Shintaro's scent and pursuing him. She begins to cry, saying she just wanted to be Shintaro's friend. Hearing this, Noel understands how Lilishka feels. This makes Shintaro retract his words and allow Lilishka to visit his house occasionally, which calms her down. Noel takes advantage of the moment and asks if she can also visit his house. Satsumi would love to invite herself too, but doesn't have the courage to ask. The next day, Toa is doing laundry and notices that the seasons are finally changing since she arrived in the human world. Meanwhile, at the occult club, Noel, Satsumi, and Shintaro celebrate their exams being over. A week ago, Noel asked Shintaro if they could study together at his house because she thinks that's what friends do. Satsumi, gathering her courage, asked to join too. Shintaro agreed but said he needed to check with Toa first. But they ended up studying in the occult club room, thanks to Lilishka's suggestion. Now, Satsumi is happily spending time with Lilishka's adorable familiar, Mofu Mofu. Lilishka thanks Satsumi for helping them study for the exam and calls her master, making Satsumi embarrassed, especially when Shintaro calls her by her first name for the first time. Changing the subject, she asks if they're disturbing the rest of the club members by occupying the club room. Shintaro suggests they go somewhere to celebrate the end of the exams and invites Lilishka, whom he mistakenly calls Kagami. Lilishka insists that she should always be called Lilishka, not Kagami, which is her fake name. Shintaro jokes about why she always poses when she talks. He mentions the club needs at least 3 members to be official. Lilishka says besides her, there's a skull acting as the vice president. Just then, the 3rd member, Surumi, opens the door and accidentally falls on Shintaro, causing an awkward moment. Lilishka introduces Surumi, who is shy and hides behind Lilishka when Shintaro tries to introduce himself. Lilishka explains Surumi's shyness, saying she harbors a deep hatred toward humans, but Surumi corrects her, saying she's just shy. After that, they all say goodbye and Shintaro asks if Lilishka will join them. She agrees because she needs to discuss something important. While walking, Lilishka explains that the occult club was going to end due to the lack of members, turning the occult club into a mere unofficial group. Lilishka decides that Shintaro, Noel, and Satsumi are perfect for joining her occult club, so she gives them application forms. Shintaro says no way, but Lilishka tries to bribe him with her cute Mofu Mofu, plus air conditioning, soda, and unlimited tea. Shintaro is tempted, but still refuses. He apologizes to Surumi for dragging her into this, and she reacts like she's seen a ghost, making Shintaro think she hates him. He tries to talk to her about her hobby, but she just cries more. Lilishka explains that Surumi loves books and reads in the clubroom because she gets scared when people sit next to her in the library. Then, they all decide to eat at a cafe, but stumble upon a festival and decide to eat there instead. Noelle is super excited to be at a festival with friends. Satsumi chat with Surumi, who shyly says she likes festivals too. Shintaro loses track of Lilishka until she shows up with all the festival goodies already on her. She senses Shintaro is feeling a bit down from his scent and jokes about wanting to bite him. Shintaro thinks Surumi is more afraid of him than the others, and Lilishka suggests it's because he saw her underwear, which Surumi denies this is why she is acting shy around Shintaro. Noelle jumps in, saying it's okay because it happened to her before. Satsumi lightens the mood by suggesting they split into groups to find food. Noelle pulls Shintaro along, and Satsumi follows, leaving Surumi and Lilishka behind. Everyone has a blast at the festival, eating all kinds of delicious food. They enjoy ice cream, and Noelle, with a frozen tongue, says this is the friendship moment she always hoped for. The girls spot someone with buttered potatoes and rush to the food stall together. Shintaro decides he needs to find something to eat too. He sees grilled corn and chilled cucumber, a summer treat. He decides to try the cucumber. Just then, Surumi appears beside him. Shintaro asks if she wants one, but she's too scared to answer. Determined to change her attitude towards him, Shintaro buys a cucumber for her and leaves. Surumi tries to say something but gets too nervous and stops. The other girls arrive, so Surumi gives up. As it gets dark, the group decides to head home. Shintaro reflects on how much fun he had at the summer festival, wishing Toa had been there too. Lilishka starts making a dramatic speech about the golden sunset, making Noelle think it's like a horror movie. Lilishka then steps to the edge of a bridge and starts to fly. Shintaro, forgetting she can fly, jumps to save her and falls into the river. Everyone panics until Surumi takes action and jumps in after him. Underwater, Shintaro is struggling, but Surumi grabs his arm and brings him to the surface. Lilishka apologizes for getting carried away, but Shintaro says he was just worried about her. He thanks Surumi for saving him. Surumi finally gathers the courage to explain she doesn't have a problem with Shintaro, but she's just really shy around boys. Shintaro apologizes for not being more patient. As Shintaro looks at the sky, an intense glow surrounds Surumi, and a halo forms above her head. Shintaro asks if she's an angel, but then notices a huge turtle shell on her back. Surumi reveals she is a kappa. Satsumi faints from the shock, while Lilishka is surprised Surumi's secret is revealed so soon. Lilishka explains that if Surumi eats a cucumber and enters water within an hour, she turns into a kappa. Surumi's grandfather is the head of the Kappa Federation of Japan, making her the future top kappa. Noelle comforts Surumi, saying she's not a normal human either, and assures her that her secret is safe with the group. Surumi looks around and realizes she can trust them, so she agrees to join the group. Shintaro then brings Toa to meet the new member. Toa, excited as always to meet different species on Earth, unintentionally showing her wings in public. The next day, Shintaro is venting to Toa about something that happened at his job. He suddenly realizes he's never seen Toa get angry, so he asks if she hides her feelings from him. Toa replies that she does get angry sometimes, but she can't remember a single example to give. Shintaro then wonders if all angels are as calm as Toa, but recalls Shu-chan, who has quite the temper. Catching a whiff of delicious food, Shintaro goes to see what Toa is cooking. Toa offers to feed him, but he feels embarrassed and decides to try it on his plate instead. Later, after class, while walking together, Noelle notices a cake shop and excitedly drags Shintaro to try it out, with Tsutsumi following behind. Meanwhile, Toa, returning from the market, sees Shintaro and the gang in the cake shop. When she sees Noelle feeding Shintaro cake, she feels anger for the first time, but quickly stops herself and goes home. Upon arriving home, Shintaro announces he bought cake to share with Toa, but she refuses, surprising him. He asks if she is upset, though Toa tries to deny it. Her sad expression gives it away. She explains that she can't understand her emotions, but thinks maybe she's jealous and tries to bury that feeling by changing her mind about the cake. After eating the tasty dessert, she thanks him. Shintaro then mentions that his summer vacation starts tomorrow and invites her to go out with him. Happy with the invitation, the angel accepts and says how happy she is living with him, leaving Shintaro embarrassed. Elsewhere, Noelle is at home watching TV show, where two girls plan to make 100 friends in their first year of school. Noelle would love to make 100 friends, but when she tried, she messed everything up and stopped going to school. She hasn't overcome this trauma, but managed to return to school and get a job. Seeing a movie she wants to watch on her phone, Noelle thinks about inviting Shintaro. Excited, she plans to surprise him at work. The next day, she goes to the restaurant, leaving the boss happy, thinking Noelle even visits him on her day off. Ignoring the boss, she rushes to Shintaro, only to realize she's not the only girl there. Watching the scene, the boss praises Shintaro for living the top G life, wondering how many girls Shintaro is hanging out with. Noelle moves on and invites Shintaro to see a movie with her. But, unfortunately, Shintaro can only leave at 6 while the movie is at 3:30. Because of this, Noelle apologizes for getting carried away. However, everyone at the table expresses that they want to watch too and decide to go together with Noelle. And the clueless Toa hilariously thinks going to the movies means jumping inside the TV. While all this is happening, Noelle only wants to go with Shintaro but doesn't get the chance to explain, so she ends up going along as they head to the movie. While everyone is chatting, Noelle feels nervous without Shintaro there because she has nothing to chat about with the girls and thinks she should go home. Inside the mall, Toa and Lilishka eat some churros, and Satsumi asks Noelle if she's up for splitting popcorn, which she accepts. When everyone is seated, Toa takes Noelle's hand because she's scared, and Noelle doesn't mind it. Finally, the movie begins. Noelle is still a bit nervous hanging out with everyone. At that moment, the movie's climax happens, and everyone is drawn to it. When the movie ends, Toa excitedly shares how much better it is to watch a movie on a giant screen. Noelle agrees that it was a great movie and gets sad as she really wishes Shintaro had been there. Lilishka suggests that when the movie becomes available on a streaming service, they should watch it with Shintaro in the club room. Noelle and Satsumi support the idea simultaneously, and they all laugh a little. Then they plan to meet Shintaro at a cafe after his work, while Noelle still can't stop thinking about Shintaro. Having read the manga of the movie, Surumi talks about the parts from the manga the movie skipped. Hearing this, Noelle also feels like there were some parts not mentioned in the movie and joins in the chat. With this, Noelle finally starts to join the conversation with the girls, making her realize she can have fun even without Shintaro around. Afterwards, the girls thank Noelle for suggesting the cinema, as they probably wouldn't have had this fun moment together otherwise. Noelle then feels ashamed of herself because she felt jealous of Shintaro's friends earlier and acted indifferent all afternoon. Wanting to change her behavior, Noelle builds up the courage to thank everyone for going to the cinema with her, even though she is not their friend. The girls are shocked because they thought Noelle already considered them friends. Noelle points out that they're actually Shintaro's friends. Satsumi feels a bit hurt thinking about all the study sessions they've had together. Noelle, having no social experience, doesn't understand this concept and says she hasn't asked anyone to be her friend yet, so they're not her friends. Satsumi explains that sometimes you don't need to ask to be friends, and that everyone there is friends with each other, with or without Shintaro around, so they're all friends of Noelle too. Hearing this, Noelle can't contain her emotions and runs off crying with happiness, feeling like she has fulfilled a dream. This is mainly because of Shintaro. However, she wonders if everyone is friends with Shintaro the same way she is, because she gets a totally different feeling when she thinks about him. Suddenly, Shintaro himself appears, asking where the others are. Reflecting on her friends, Noelle discovers that Shintaro is more special to her than just a friend. So she tells Shintaro that she doesn't just see him as a friend, she considers him her best friend. The other girls then arrive, while Noelle is still confused if it's right to consider him her best friend. That night, Shintaro's apartment air conditioner breaks down on an insanely hot day, so he and Toa use the bathtub to cool off. However, another thing heating up is Shintaro's heart when he sees Toa's bare legs, so he quickly gets up and opens the balcony window, but it's also scorching outside. Out of nowhere, Lilishka appears, requesting her usual bite on the neck from Shintaro. But Shintaro is stinky after spending the whole day without a shower. Then Lilishka gives an invitation to both of them to the occult club's summer camp. Shintaro remembers they're not even members of that club and refuses, which shock Lilishka since they're missing out on the hot springs and the beach. She throws a tantrum and begs him until Shintaro asks if there's air conditioning, to which Lilishka gives a thumbs up. Sometime later, Shintaro and Toa are standing in front of a massive skyscraper, second-guessing if this is really the meetup spot. Shintaro double-checks and yup, it's the place. Suddenly, a security guard shows up and tells them to follow her. Next thing they know, they're on a freaking helicopter with the other girls, flying off to who knows where. When they land, Surumi is there to greet them. The group is both freaked out and hyped because let's be real, who expects a helicopter ride for a meetup? Satsumi question, who even is this Surumi? Until she spots the family name on the chopper. Turns out, Surumi's family is one of Japan's top 4 conglomerates. Lilishka knew all of this. Then, Surumi's personal maids, Kujaku and Aoi, step in. They're twins who've been serving the Surumi clan since birth and come from a long line of elite kappa. The group gets a grand tour of the estate, and they're absolutely awestruck by this stunning pond. Kujaku explains that the pond was built by the Surumi clan ages ago, but Aoi adds that a tragic legend involving 2 lovers who tried to exchange their shirikodama for love and a meet-up with the creator. Shintaro asks what a shirikodama is, causing the maids to blush as they explain it's something found in a kappa's orifice. The twins show everyone to their rooms, and Lilishka announces the start of the occult club's summer camp. She says there's a big event after dinner, but until then, everyone's free to do whatever. The group note it's not even lunchtime yet, and thinks maybe they should plan something. But Lilishka, being Lilishka, didn't plan any group activities. Cue the twin maids stepping in to save the day. They suggest a sumo match, explaining that kappas have loved sumo since forever, just like cucumbers. No one volunteers for sumo, so Kujaku invites everyone to hit up a beautiful nearby beach and even offers swimsuits. Tsutsumi and Noelle rush off to find their suits, but Shintaro realizes he's in front of a bunch of girls and awkwardly asks for the guys' swimsuits. As soon as the maids figure out Shintaro's a dude, they surround him like he's the big foot. Later at the beach, Shintaro finally scores a pair of trunks from one of the women's sets. Still confused about why anyone thought he wasn't obviously a guy. Kujaku admits she thought he might be one of those rich girls raised as a boy, and is impressed that Surumi has befriended a dude. Suddenly, Toa shows up flaunting her swimsuit, followed by Noelle and Tsutsumi, who's a bit shy, and finally Surumi, who's the most modest. Tsutsumi freaks out, wishing she had dieted if she knew she'd be at the beach with Shintaro. Noelle, unbothered, invites Shintaro to play volleyball. As he wonders how to deal with all these girls, Lilishka sneaks up behind him and shows off her perfect full-body outfit for a vampire on a sunny beach. Noelle can't wait any longer and drags Shintaro by the arm to play volleyball. Everyone joins in, having a blast. Before long, Shintaro has whipped up the first batch of barbecue with Toa helping to share it around. While roasting corn, Shintaro offers some to Surumi, who gets startled just hearing his voice. Seeing this, he feels the need to break the ice somehow. He asks if he can call her by her first name, making her almost combust from embarrassment. She agrees, and Shintaro finally hands her the corn, which she then runs off to tell Lilishka about, thrilled no boy has ever called her by her first name before. A little later, Shintaro is casually drinking water when Toa sits next to him, commenting on the beauty of the sea and feeling embarrassed in her bikini. During sunset, the friends lie side by side on the sand, celebrating the fantastic day they've had together. The twin maids reappear, inviting everyone for a bath in the hot springs before dinner. Since the summer house only has a female bathing area, Shintaro is told to clean himself in the backyard well. Tsutsumi apologizes that her friend is isolated, but Noelle jokingly asks when he plans to peek at them, shocking Shintaro. Realizing she had said something crazy again, she apologizes. After his well bath, Lilishka appears in her swimsuit just to show off, leaving Shintaro wondering why she bothered. Meanwhile, Toa notices the different texture of the hot spring water, and the girls explain it's great for health. Noelle, being a Yuki Anna, turns red as a shrimp and gets covered in burns from the high temperatures, so she's quickly warned to get out of the hot spring. Meanwhile, she's fantasizing about Shintaro bathing with them, causing Tsutsumi to panic at the thought. Tsutsumi feeling self-conscious about her chest size compared to Toa's and Noelle's. Noelle, noticing, asks if she wants to touch them, mistaking reality for fiction again. Lilishka reassures Surumi that her chest size will grow with time, leaving Surumi puzzled. Suddenly, Toa notices it's snowing, and they see Noelle, exhausted from trying to understand the world. She questions if her friends are even real, and Tsutsumi tries to convince her they are. Meanwhile, Shintaro is waiting for the girls when the twins show up. They've seen Surumi having fun but warn Shintaro that if anything happens to her, they have their cucumbers ready to handle the situation. Everyone gathers for dinner, and after the meal, they feel sleepy and decide to sleep. Once again, Shintaro is alone in the summer house for being a boy. Upset, he remembers he can at least go to the hot spring, so he heads for his second bath of the day. However, Surumi is already there, leading to the expected shouting. Surumi makes it clear he doesn't need to leave as she can go to the other side. With that settled, Shintaro fears the twins seeing the scene, but Surumi thanks him, saying how much his presence brings joy to everyone around, especially Lilishka. Knowing how much Surumi likes Lilishka, he asks if she joined the school because of her. Surumi explains that she received a prophecy back in middle school. One day, she saved a lady from drowning, and the lady revealed that the kappa should place herself in an environment with men to open a new world for her. Since kappas take water-related prophecies very seriously, Surumi gave up going to an all-girls school. She struggled to adapt to high school until she finally met Shintaro and the girls, and everything changed for the better. Happy with these words, Shintaro heads back to his bed, but on the way, the twins force him to wrestle as he broke his promise. After a wild sumo match, Shintaro's ready to crash, but suddenly, Lilishka barges into his room. She's all excited because they forgot to summon a demon. Everyone gathers in the backyard, looking like zombies from lack of sleep. Lilishka reminds them that summoning demons was the whole point of summer camp. Noelle asks if Lilishka knows what she's doing. Lilishka whips out her Demon Summoning for Dummies book. She admits her last try with Surumi was a fail, but she thinks with everyone here, it might just work. Noel's totally down for this spooky adventure. Lilishka explains they need to chant together with all their heart. But here's the catch, they might summon any kind of spirit. It's like spiritual roulette. The gang's getting hyped. Noel asks about sacrifices, thinking it might get super dark. Lilishka says they'd normally need a special chicken, but she felt bad for the bird. Instead, she brought a burnt cookie that looks chicken-ish. They face east and start chanting. Suddenly, the wind picks up, forming a mini tornado. When it clears, Shu appears for a few seconds and then vanishes. Everyone's shocked. Lilishka faints from excitement. Toa and Shintaro are like, wait, wasn't that just Shu? Lilishka wakes up and is over the moon that it worked. Noel's so pumped she wants to join the occult club and throw a Halloween party. Everyone else jumps on the spooky bandwagon. Shintaro and Tsutsumi think it's already Halloween with all these mythical beings around. Back home, everyone's too excited to sleep. Lilishka suggests setting off fireworks. Shintaro's into it, but points out they don't have any. Like magic, the maids show up with a ton of fireworks. Lilishka's playing Harry Potter with a sparkler. Shintaro teaches Toa how to light one, but she freaks out when she realizes it's basically a tiny explosive. He helps her out, and she's mesmerized by the sparks. Satsumi's watching, feeling a bit jealous. Noelle then calls the distracted Satsumi to join the fun but gets annoyed when Satsumi uses her last name. Satsumi apologizes and she is forgiven. Noelle then asks Shintaro to join them. Shintaro notices that Noelle and Satsumi started to use each other's first names. Noelle explains it's because they're friends, and she calls everyone by their first name. This makes Satsumi feel left out. Trying to help, Noelle suggests Shintaro and Satsumi use first names too. Satsumi gets super excited, thinking she might get closer to her crush. She tries to say Shintaro's name, but gets all nervous and stutters. It's kind of adorable, but Shintaro says he likes using her last name better. Poor Satsumi feels bummed out. As they light the fireworks, Satsumi thinks about how she and Shintaro aren't besties, but aren't strangers either. She decides it's okay. The sky lights up with colorful explosions and everyone starts drawing hearts with sparklers. Shintaro feels like this is the best summer vacation ever. The next day, Shintaro and Toa head to Tokyo to see the sky tree. Toa's bouncing with excitement. They get to the huge tower, and Toa, being a total TV nerd, actually thanks it for all the shows it broadcasts. At the sky tree, Toa thinks the observatory looks like a mole. Shintaro sees some girls in yukatas and offers to rent one for Toa. She tries it on and looks amazing. Shintaro tells her she's cute, and Toa blushes like crazy. Everyone stares at how pretty she looks. They get in line for tickets. It's 2,100 yen for the observatory, or 3,100 yen for the observatory plus a gallery. Shintaro goes for the expensive option, but Toa's shocked at the price, thinking they could buy a ton of turnips instead. She freaks out more when she realizes Shintaro paid for her yukata too. Shintaro tells her not to worry, he wanted to see her in a yukata. Toa realizes sometimes experiences are worth more than money. It's like a mini life lesson. They go up to the observatory and Toa's mind is blown by the view. She can even see what book someone far below is reading. Shintaro's amazed at how good angel eyesight is. Toa then notices some of the people are scared of heights, but Shintaro seems cool with it. He explains that humans can't fly, so falling from up high is super dangerous. Toa freaks out, imagining Shintaro becoming a meat pancake. But Shintaro calms her down, saying she'd save him if he fell. That makes Toa feel better. After checking out the view, they hit up a souvenir shop. Toa sees lots of people with luggage and learns it's vacation time. She asks if Shintaro misses his family, but he just says his parents are overseas. When he asks her the same thing, Toa admits she misses heaven sometimes, but feels at home with Shintaro. What a cute moment. Shintaro invites Toa to lunch and worries about her feet in those tight sandals. Plot twist. Toa's been lightly floating the whole time. Talk about angelic perks. They explore Tokyo, and Toa's mind is blown by everything. But in the afternoon, they get separated in the crowd. Toa gets scared being alone, but Shintaro finds her. To stay together, they hold on to each other's clothes. Shintaro thinks about holding hands, but gets too shy. That night, they chat about their awesome day. Shintaro's planning to grab dinner at the station, but Toa suddenly gets sad. She doesn't want the day to end just yet. Shintaro reminds her they have plenty of vacation days left. To cheer her up, he surprises her with the Sky Tree souvenir. Toa's super grateful and wants to return the favor. She leads Shintaro to a dark alley and tells him to close his eyes. He's thinking maybe she'll kiss him, but nope. When he opens his eyes, they're flying over the Sky Tree. Shintaro freaks out, but Toa assures him he's safe. She shares how nervous she was coming to Earth, but how happy she is now, thanks to Shintaro and the girls. Later, Shintaro reflects on his life. He used to think he was just a regular 16-year-old stuck in a boring routine. But now, coming home to his awesome angel friend, he realizes how lucky he is.